Great song, great song. Midwest Radio on FM, and you can catch us online as well, midwestradio.co.uk. Right, music to come from Phil Collins. We'll do some Lionel Richie as well. But here in studio, Matthew Rock, thank you very much for joining us. And if ever there was an apt surname, that is the one.
Thanks, Drew.
Is it an acquired surname or
Yeah,
one that you were born with?
I was born with it. I was born with it.
You were born to rock?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, if you've been reading the local press or listening to news recently, you wouldn't have escaped what Matthew is up to. 26 gigs one night. That's impossible, Matthew.
When
That
you
is
say
impossible.
That, it's scary. It's scary. It seemed like a really good idea at the time, but you've just said it now and I'm a bit scared about it.
Right, before we get into the technicalities of doing it, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, last October we were sort of thrown into oblivion, really, when my son James, who was 8 at the time, was taken. He was very poorly.
Yeah.
And we had to go to Yeovil Hospital, who diagnosed him with a bowel disease, which they believed to be either Crohn's or colitis. And when it got to the stage where he really needed some expert help, at the drop of a hat, they were sending us off to Bristol Children's Hospital, a resource which was just available. And, you know, by going there, I learnt that that is a resource that's available to children all over the southwest. And so at any time, any child around us could need that facility. And what a facility it is, it's quite unbelievable. And we were there for 2 weeks. The whole experience was just humbling, awe-inspiring, and all that, you know. And you see other things there, and you see what the people do, and you appreciate it's just such a tiny spot on the landscape. But what they did for James meant that I came away, firstly, in the knowledge that they do serve a wide sort of base of location, but also, you know, completely inspired by what they did for us, and more specifically for James, of course.
So with that in mind, you thought you'd repay them in a certain way.
I had to, and those that know me will vouch for the fact that the chances of me doing a marathon is sort of... so I turned 26 miles into 26 gigs as a performer, and like I say, it sounded a really good idea, but as it's this Saturday, I'm just panicking a little bit, you know.
Before we get into the gigs, where, when and how long have you been into music?
About 20 years, really. I've been, well, I say that probably more. I mean, my first performance was at our very own Octagon Theatre when I was just 8.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say
what did you do, aged 8?
What did I do?
Yes.
I just played the keyboard then, you know,
sure
got a few notes out. Yeah, a little bit better now, I hope, but that was way back when. And since then, loads of stuff in and around Yeovil with all sorts of different companies and theatre companies and gigging myself. And it's surprising how many people that I know that have popped up and said, we'll be at one of those gigs, we'll be at one of those. And people I haven't seen for years, really, have said, we'll come along and chuck a couple quid in the bucket. And that's just great. And the whole thing is gone pretty massive. But I'm so pleased because it's such a great cause.
Have you got a target?
10 grand.
Right.
I'll stop when I get 10 grand. So I'm hoping that the
is that an incentive?
Well,
is it?
I'm hoping that the Gigathon will do the business. But if I've got to sort of go busking in the street afterwards, I will. But you know, there's going to be a couple other things to follow it up. But I'm hoping that we'll crack most of that on the night. Yeah.
Right, Matthew, do not go anywhere because we've got to talk about where, when, and how.
Brilliant.
And also, a double-decker bus will be following. Stand by for more details. Travel next.